Welcome to our September TBR video. So I have my handy dandy TBR jar here. Been doing this for months now, so you guys know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna pick about 6 prompts, I think, from here, and then that's gonna dictate what we choose from here, which is my very, very heavy and full TBR cart. Now, in addition to this, I actually do have about 4 more books here on the side. It's off camera so you can't see it, but there's 4 books in there that are library books, which I would love to read. If I pick them though, I'll show you guys. Let's just dive right in to picking our November TBR. I really don't have that many prompts left because all the ones that I've chosen for the last like 5 or 6 months, I've kept in a different jar. We're getting down to the nitty gritty, but let's see what our first prompt is going to be. Book published in the last year. It's gonna be most likely a new release this year or last year. So we do have a few of, actually most, I feel like most of my cart is a new release. I have really been wanting to read You With a View here. Let's see when this was published. I think it was published last year. Oh, it says 2023. So I think we found our first one right off the bat. This one has just been on my mind a lot, so I definitely want to read it. I've been dying to get into Jessica Joyce's writing. Yeah, I just have heard so many good things about this. It's a romance. This is definitely gonna make the TBR. This is book number 1. All right, I made some very subtle changes to the TBR cart. If you find them, you find them. If you don't, that's okay. We're just gonna keep on going. I added this little stool right here as well so I can add the books that we pick. Moving on to prompt number 2. This is a long one. Book that ends in an odd number of pages. Okay, so this is really nice because it's kind of open-ended. I can really kind of choose anything. My eyes are definitely being drawn to a few books that I definitely want to prioritize this month. One of them being The Midnight Library, Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. Let me just start with these 2 and see if one of them kind of fits that prompt. This one ends in 708, which is such a bummer because I really want to read the Magnolia Park's book. But next up, let's see, Midnight Library. This one, 288, so that is also not going to work. Another one I'm very interested in reading is Leather and Lark, which is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. This one comes after Butcher and Blackbird. 390, that is odd. I think this is gonna be our second book. This is a dark romance. It's a trilogy. I'm definitely gonna go with this one. I'm very excited. It's Book of the Month edition, which my first book in this trilogy is also a Book of the Month edition, so they all match, which is perfect. Chef's kiss. Book number 2. All right, we have 2 romances. Let's try to switch it up because I like to read like a bunch of different genres, and especially for my like TBR that I like to prioritize to read during the month, I want to have some sort of different like types of reads. So let's see what we have next. Book with a map. That's a little daunting. My head immediately goes to fantasy, of course, and there are a few fantasy series I'm in the middle of reading, one of them being like Fourth Wing trilogy or series. Powerless by Lauren Roberts, the second book, and then Game of Thrones. But if I'm being completely honest, my friend right now is borrowing the second book in the Fourth Wing series. I think I might just choose that one anyway though, because I do want to read that one. I think I'm gonna go with the second book after Fourth Wing, and that one I just do not have right now because my friend is borrowing it, but I am going to choose that one. So we're gonna add that one to the TBR. It's called, what the heck is it called? Iron Flame. We're gonna add Iron Flame to the TBR, and for that reason, I'm gonna choose 7 books, and we'll just see. We're gonna be optimistic and see if we're able to read 7 books, but we'll see. Moving on to number 3, but technically number 4. Has a TV or movie adaptation. Fun, because I love TV and movie adaptations for literally anything. Usually I feel like I have a good amount of those on my TBR. It's not looking too good. No. Not that I know of for any of these. I literally don't think any of these have a TV movie adaptation. I'm looking at like my Book of the Month ones back there, but I don't think those do either. Or my little pile of library books here as well. Does the Natural series have a TV movie adaptation? I don't think so. Well, this is unexpected. Terrified to admit this, but I did some research and I found a book that has a TV series adaptation. It's this one, of course, because why wouldn't it be the biggest, chunkiest book on my TBR? This is probably like over 1,000 pages. It's like 900 pages. It's a Stephen King book. It is about time travel, so we do get a different genre. It's science fiction. I'm just gonna add it to the TBR and we'll see what happens. I have really been wanting to read this. I've owned this for like over a year now, so it has done its time on the TBR. I mean, you can just tell it's a little bit intimidating, so that is most likely why I haven't read this. But we're gonna add it to the TBR and we will see if it gets read. All right, moving on. Of course, right after I said we're actually picking 7 books, I get the biggest book on my TBR. That is just wonderful. Next prompt is start a series. Okay, right off the bat, I am thinking about starting this book, which is The Naturals. This is part of a trilogy or a series. I'm not too sure. This is a YA fiction mystery thriller sort of book. I don't know if I have other like start series books. I do have like some that are in series, but those would not be starting a series. So I think I'm gonna have to go with The Naturals. I actually have really been looking forward to reading this. It's nice and short. It's a YA mystery thriller. It's Criminal Minds meets teenagers. I think it's also perfect for the fall time November season because it is still spooky season in my opinion. So I think it'll be perfect to add to the TBR. 1, 2, 3, 4, technically 5. Okay, I guess we have 6 more options. I mean 6 more, 2 more options. Next up, I'm just picking out like these. Oh, this one had like 3 in it, but let's see what this one says. Set in a different continent. This right here is set on a different continent. This is set in Europe. It's set specifically in London. This is London High Society, Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark. This is the last book that's out in this series and the last Magnolia Parks book. This is also really big and heavy, and I think I'm gonna go crazy in November trying to finish all these books. This is a little bit intimidating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically 6 already. I don't know if to stop here, but anyway, we're going to give Magnolia Parks her time to shine. If I finish this book this year, I will be completely caught up in the series. I actually am very much looking forward to this. The cover is absolutely beautiful. They don't sell these in the US, I don't believe, so I have to order mine through Blackwell's. It's an online website that has like the UK versions, and honestly it's like the same price, and it includes shipping to America because it is like a UK based company. So that's where I got my entire Magnolia Park series because I wanted the original like OG covers. So that's definitely a tip for you. If you still want these covers, then definitely order from Blackwell's. I'll pop up their website so that you know exactly what to find, but I think we're gonna go with this for our TBR. Okay, you know what? I think that's it actually. I'm sorry I lied to you guys, but I don't think I can do 7 books just because this is way too much. Now that I'm thinking about it, I also have to add this to my TBR, The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave, because this is my November book club book. So you know what, we're not picking a prompt for that one, but my video, my rules, and we're just gonna add this one also to the list. So now let's just review all the books that are gonna be on my November TBR. Let's review. First up is You With a View by Jessica Joyce. This is a contemporary romance. It has some of my favorite book tropes. It has a road trip. It has enemies to lovers, which that part is not my favorite. I love a road trip in a book, but enemies to lovers I find can be hard to believe sometimes. I'm just interested to see the way this writer does that trope because I have heard really good things about this book, especially this author. I think this might even be her first book, like her debut novel. So very interested to see how I like this, how I feel about this. But this has been a very interesting book that I've had my eye on for quite a while. I believe there's like a whole like TikTok video goes viral in this. So I don't know, it's just very interesting, and I'm excited to see what I think about it. Book number 1 is You With the View. Book number 2 is Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy following Butcher and Blackbird. These 2 characters, it's Lake, I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name to be honest. Lark and Lachlan, I'm just gonna have to say it in my head and hopefully I say it right, but this book is about these 2 main characters, and they do get hinted at, and we get a brief little introduction to them in the first book in the series, so I would recommend reading it in order. But this is a dark romance, definitely contemporary. I think it's also sort of marriage of convenience type of trope. That is going to be interesting because I don't know if these 2 characters are really close or friends. I do have similar expectations as I did for the first one. This is going to be like a spicy, really fast-paced romance, which sometimes you need those to break up the pace, and it is very kind of fall season coded because it's giving dark romance, spooky season vibes. Book number 3 might be Iron Flame, but I don't own that, so I'll talk about that in a second. Next one is 11/22/63 by Mr. Stephen King. This book is 900 pages long. It is historical fiction, sci-fi, and fiction. I think those are like the 3 main genres. This is about a high school or just a teacher who finds like a time warp, a time hole, a time loop. I don't know. It's time travel. So he goes back in time and actually meets Lee Harvey Oswald, who was the murderer of JFK. So he encounters this lonely guy named Lee Harvey Oswald, and obviously he's from the future, so he knows what that man does. I'm just gonna leave it at that. We don't know what happens next. That is a very, very interesting premise. 11/22/63 is an infamous date. JFK's assassination is obviously infamous. I'm from the US, so it's huge. And I don't know too much about it, but obviously I've heard about it, I've learned about it. So I just want to see if this is going to be also educational in a sense, or if it's just purely fiction. I just have so many questions that I feel like I have going into this book, so very interested to see how that plays out. I mean, this book definitely has a reputation of being really, really good. I'm very, very scared of the length, but we'll just see what happens. Next book is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a YA sort of mystery thriller. It's about a 17-year-old girl named Cassie, I believe, and she gets kind of found by the FBI because she's kind of talented, and I think she's like a profiler. So the FBI kind of recruits her for this like special program, and it's a group of teenagers who are kind of gifted trying to find a serial killer, I think. They're trying to crack infamous cold cases, and they need Cassie. Oh, soon it becomes clear that no one in the Naturals program is what they seem, and when a new killer strikes, danger looms close. It's basically a cat and mouse game. I feel like I don't usually read books like this, especially YA, but this book has a great reputation, and it's not that long. It seems like a fun little journey to go on, and for it to be fast-paced, I'm expecting it to be very easy to understand, very easy to kind of digest. Next up is Miss Magnolia Parks Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. Final book that is currently out, and final book for Magnolia Parks, like her story. This book is Gossip Girl Means London, socialite scene. Basically, if you've never read the series, I do recommend it. Stick through the first book. It's not my favorite, but the rest of the series is really good and really strong in my opinion. The last Magnolia Parks book, in my opinion, was my favorite, and it left off on a huge cliffhanger, and I need to know what happened. Like, I have to read this. I have to start this immediately. This is definitely giving me also sort of fall vibes because I'm just picturing like London and coldness. That's basically it. So I don't really know why this stands out to me, but I do want to finish this series by the end of the year. And it's another really long book. This one's also almost over 700 pages long. So I'm gonna have a great time reading this month. Hopefully I do a lot of reading vlogs for you guys. Last but not least is The Night We Lost Him, Laura Dave. This is mystery thriller. It's by the same author as The Last Thing He Told Me, which was a Reese's Book Club pick from a few years ago that was like really, really popular. I did read that book and I did really enjoy it. Now it has like its own TV adaptation, like TV shows. That's really cool. I haven't seen that, but I do remember reading the book and really enjoying it. So I do have kind of high hopes for this. This is my book club pick of the month. I have a book club with like a few of my friends and we chose to read this one. So it's not that long. It is a library book, so I have to read this ASAP so I can return it, but I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it's about estranged siblings who have to come together because their father passed away. They both have sort of different lived experiences with their father, so they kind of have to process that and then try to find, there's like some sort of mystery aspect of course to it, so I don't really know what that's about. That's kind of like the very briefest information and synopsis that I do know, but we are going to read it and I will tell you guys all about it once that's done. That was really loud, but these are all the books on my November TBR. We have quite a few different genres. We have mystery thriller, some YA, contemporary romance, historical fiction, fantasy with Iron Flame. So we have a little bit of everything, which I always love to read and see and experience. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's the that's the November TBR. I'll see you guys for December. Bye.